I met Will Kintish in Oxford in 2005 at an RICS conference, and we briefly met in Geneva last year at a Brits in Business function. He's a qualified chartered accountant, which means a CPA in the US, if we're talking American language, I think. In 1971, so he was qualified as a chartered accountant, and so he's been in the industry for 30 years or so. In 2000, he changed his career and has shown thousands of people how to become more confident and effective in networking, as some of you may have experienced this morning if you were here early enough for breakfast. I know not all of you were here, but you had a bit of a taste of what he does. With the wide-ranging use of social media and social networking today, Will is one of these people that prefers, as I'm sure a lot of you do too, the old-fashioned face-to-face communications. And so Will speaks loudly about the old-fashioned way of doing things. His talk today is entitled, Taking Your Networking from Stress to Success. So please welcome Will Kintish.
You know, if you're a professional speaker, it's a bit lonely, so this is my partner. You'll be meeting him in a few minutes. He's about to become your lifelong best networking friend. Most people feel like that. If you're normal, I asked you at the beginning out there, are you normal people? You are normal if walking into a room is not the easiest thing in the world. And for those people who never heard me out there, if you hate walking into a room that's already full, why put yourself through the pain and heartache? Get there early. And the other reason you get there early is you can have nice conversations on a one-on-one basis. Whereas once the room fills up, it generally is groups of people, and you can't have those good business conversations that you would have at the beginning. Does anybody tweet, by the way? Any tweeters? One tweet? My hashtag is I've been Kintished. Ladies and gentlemen, you're all being Kintished today. I am at Kintish. Does anybody know what that green thing is? Sorry, I can't hear. What's the answer? Typewriter. Does anybody know what that black and white thing is? And that white stick. Ladies and gentlemen, that was 1964. I met one or two people who I think are nearly as old as me, or even older. I can't believe it, because 1964 was when I started work. Can you imagine those days? No internet, no computers, none of these damn things. Do you remember those days, anybody? Put your hand up if you do, because I'll know you're dead old. Yeah. Crikey, there's a few old ones in here. Most of my presentations are to young kids, and they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. They wouldn't know that that was a typewriter. I believe we have three fundamental fears. Here he is. Where am I going to start? Fear of the unknown. Will anyone talk to me? By the way, this is Brian. The second fear is fear of rejection. But I believe that the big fear you all ought to have is this one. Wasting time. Do we all go networking? Just nod. Do we all go networking? We go to events. And when we go to events, it takes a lot of time up. But how effective is it? Do you make sure that you get the most out of your time? You're extending your working day if you go to an event. Some of us go to breakfast meetings, some of us go to lunches, some of us go to dinners. I go to all three. Ladies and gentlemen, I will go to the opening of an envelope. Because you know what? If you don't go, you'll never know. I presume most of us would like some more business. Is that fair? I've spoken to a few people, say, I want some more business. And there's only two ways to get business, you know. One is to be reactive, do a fantastic job, wait for the phone to ring, wait for the recommendations, wait for the referrals. And that's okay-ish, but it means that you're relying on third parties to dictate the speed of growth of your business. And my message to any professional is, I don't care how clever you are, at the end of the day, in today's world, there is so much competition that you can't be reactive. You have to go out and make it happen. I'm proud to tell you that I work in lots of universities and business schools with MBAs and PhDs and professors. And all those people think that because they've got those wonderful letters behind their name, or their professor in front of them, or doctor, or Germany hair doctor and so on, that they have a right to make a fantastic living. Well, it doesn't happen like that anymore. We have to go out and make it happen. This is Ted. Now, Ted is very sensitive, so he always likes a nice, warm response to, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, I know. Do you know what he just told me? He said, you're the best responsive audience for weeks. But then I normally work with accountants and lawyers. So thank you very much. Ted's really important. I'm going to introduce Ted to you a bit more formally in a few moments. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is networking? Well, the irony for me is that every day of our lives we network. Networking, will you agree with me, is simply building relationships. Nod. Yes. 8 nods. I'll take it as a majority. Isn't that all networking is? There are 3 key steps to building relationships. The first step is to get to know people. These conferences are fantastic opportunities in a short time to get to know people. So please, everybody, in between the speakers, make sure that you don't go on your phone, that you don't catch up with your emails, but that you are talking to people, new people. The second word I'm going to show you about relationship building, for me, is the most important word of all. And again, I want to nod if you agree with me. Like. If people don't like us, they won't do business with us. Isn't that right, everybody? I'm going to share a little secret with you. I was an accountant for 30-odd years. And when it came to the technical aspect of the job, I was crap. Honest. How the hell I never got sued for 30 years, I'll never know. Honest. I conned them for 30 years. But you know what, guys? I was the greatest client getter of all. And when it got technical, I said, oh, give that to Simon. He's good at that stuff. But don't get me wrong. I used to go on lots of courses to make sure I knew what the problems were, but I couldn't solve them. But when I saw the client, he said, I've got a problem with X. I said, yes, you have, because I heard about that on a course, but you better go and see Mary or Jack or Jill. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate this phrase and it makes me choke, but I'm going to say it anyway. People buy people before they buy the product or service. Isn't that right? It's true, isn't it? Nobody ever, let's take the accountancy firm or the bank or the Knight Franks of this world. Nobody ever gets recommended to Knight Frank. Nobody ever gets recommended to KPMG or HSBC. Isn't that right? People are recommended to the people at those companies. Isn't that fair? And it's all about relationships. So there are 3 key steps to building relationships. Know, like, and trust. Now, you will forgive me, Americans, that we have a thing about Americans when it comes to networking. That you don't seem to, and please forgive me, don't throw tomato at me. In fact, Matthew, is there a door I can run out of before? Okay. Americans seem to mix up networking with selling. Please, ladies and gentlemen, when we go to events, don't sell. Don't sell your company. Don't sell services. Don't sell products. The only thing we sell, shout at me in unison, is what? We sell ourselves. And yet, I see it, okay, even in the UK, people try and, within minutes, they say, let me tell you what I do. Do you want some of it? Well, it doesn't work like that, does it? I mean, my perception, and hopefully I'm wrong, that the American way of doing it is quite different from the way we do it here. It has to be slowly, slowly catchy monkey. And hopefully you'll do that. So what are the key issues? Again, I'm hoping that most people believe in themselves. And again, because I work with so many younger people, young lawyers, young CPAs, that they walk in that room and they're scared stiff. And do you know the irony about networking, building relationships? Do you know the irony that in 1964, I reckon the word was probably in the English Oxford Dictionary. But in those days, we didn't talk about networking. Do you know what we talked about? Talking. Isn't that all networking is, everybody? So I've been earning a living now for 16 years showing people how to talk to each other. Am I a con man or what? What do you reckon? And yet so many people hate it. They hate the word. I say, well, change the word. Say, I'm going talking. I'm not going networking. Why do people hate it? Because of those three fears. Fear of rejection. Will anyone talk to me? Fear of the unknown. What's going to happen? So you have to walk in that room, for those of you who find it a bit of a struggle, and give yourselves a good talking to. If all goes to plan, there is a 28-page mini booklet, pocket book as I call it, to take away with you. And on page 3 of the pocket book is a headline called Positive Self-Talk. So that when you walk into the room, you say, I'm a nice person who's going to be accepted in this room. I've as much right to be in this room as everybody else. So it's all about talking yourself up and believing in your niceness, believing in your expertise, in your knowledge and your experience. We are all nice people, aren't we? Are we all nice people? Yeah. There is one not nice person in the room, I believe. I don't know who he or she is. But as I told you out there, one of the delegates went up to this person, and this person ignored that delegate. Can you believe that? I call them the rude, ignorant pig. You might find them at some stage at the conference, but hopefully you won't. Maybe they're not part of this conference, I don't know. But it's all about being nice. It's all about getting people to like us. So how do we get people to like us? Well, first of all, it's all about first impressions. I created this acronym, everybody, and then I found out it's actually a word. A-shine, it means to radiate. So whenever you go to events, I want in those first 20 seconds for things to happen in first impressions. So the A is appearance. I said to Matthew, what's the dress code today? And he said, everybody won't be wearing ties. I apologize, because a lot of you are wearing ties. And then the S, of course, is smile. And the H is handshake. Have you ever thought about the handshake? Within seconds of meeting this complete stranger, you're touching them, often people of the opposite sex. Well, if you're going to touch them properly. In other words, do you ever shake hands with people and you feel as though you've shaken hands with a dead trout? Yeah. Or you shake hands with the alpha male and all of a sudden you're off to the ER because they've broken 2 of your fingers. So the handshake is really important. And then we have introduce yourselves. Whenever we go to an event, we're always asked 2 questions immediately. What's your name and what do you do? Well, I'd like you to all think about changing your name. Am I right in saying that learning other people's names or hearing remembering other people's names, we're not too good at it. Is that fair? Most of us? Some of us? 63.72% of you aren't good at names. Okay, the rest of you don't need to listen to this bit. And one of the reasons that even if we try and listen is that people mumble their names, and maybe you mumble your names. So here is a new way of introducing yourself. Rather than giving your name, hi, my name's Will Kintish, they won't hear it. Try this. It's called the reverse James Bond. Are you ready for this, everybody? Stand there, sir, please. I'm going to introduce myself to you in my way, and you're going to introduce yourself back to me with your own name to me. Are you all ready for this, everybody? Oh, hello there. My name's Will Kintish, and you are?
I'm Gatland, Paul Gatland.
No. I did the reverse James Bond, and you did the James. It's 2 Pauls and 1 Gatland, not 2 Gatlands and 1. Is that all right? Because we're not going to call you Mr. Gatland. You don't want me to call you Mr. Gatland, do you? No, I don't want to call you Mr. Gatland. So we'll try it again, okay? Hello there, my name's Will Kintish, and you are?
I'm Paul Gatland.
Oh, hi, Paul. Nice to meet you. Thank you, Paul. So if you want people to hear your name, give it to them twice. Have you got it? And then again, under introduce. People are always asking you, nice to meet you, what do you do? Now, I want you all to think very carefully about that question. What do you do? They never say, hi, nice to meet you, Paul. What are you? What are you, Paul? What do you do? What do you do, Paul?
I'm in sales at IBM.
I'm in sales at IBM. That's okay. That's not bad. Ladies and gentlemen, when they ask you what you do, will you try and answer with a verb and not a noun? Think about it. What do you do? We help our clients when they're looking for more property, or we help our clients to sell their property at the best price. Or we have loads of clients who've got loads of space, and our job is to fill it. People don't care what you do, they only care what you might do for them. So think about it. When you're asked that question, what do you do? Try and answer with a bit of a marketing little phrase. By the way, always find out what they do first. So when they ask you what you do, you can respond in the appropriate manner. So if I meet an accountant or a lawyer, and and they say they're an accountant or a lawyer, and they say, what do you do, Will? I say, I help professional people like you get more clients. And stop at that point. And that teases them a bit. I call it the verbal strict tease, everybody. 1 layer off at a time. Don't give too much away. We live in a soundbite world, don't we? So just give them one-liners. Because if they say, I say, well, I help professional people like you get more clients, and then they say, oh, do you? And which football team do you support? They're obviously not interested in what I do. Fine, I'll talk football. Sorry, soccer. And then the name. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not good at names, and it's nothing to do with our memory. Dare I suggest it's to do with our listening. Isn't that right? We're so busy worrying about making a fantastic first impression that, for me, the most important bit of starting a relationship on a sound footing and creating some intimacy is to get their name. Now, I'm going to ask a question now, and I'm going to get the best response I've ever had, because I've got an American audience here. How many of you have heard of a man who changed my career called Dale Carnegie? Good. Unlike most of the UK people. He wrote that famous book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And for those of you responsible parents who've got kids from the age of 11 to 20, if you only get them to read one book, chain them up and make them read that book. How to Win Friends and Influence People. You see, some of you might have thought in Matthew's introduction, how did Kintish move in one moment from being a CPA to being what I'm doing now? It's because I went on a Dale Carnegie course. Anybody ever go on a Dale Carnegie course? Fantastic. Wasn't it the greatest experience, sir? Yeah? What do you reckon? Do you know that course started by Dale Carnegie in New York, 1912? It's now 2016, 104 years later, and the course still runs all over the world. I went on the course. I loved it so much. I became a part-time trainer with them, and that's what got me out of accountancy. And the reason I'm mentioning it now with that slide up is because this is what Dale Carnegie said about names. A person's name is, to that person, the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Agree? Your name's important to you, mine to me, and everybody else's. So even if I'm listening for a name and they mumble it or it's an unusual name, I ask them to repeat it because I want to get their name, because the name is the most important bit. So if you don't hear their name this conference, ask them to repeat it. And they're never going to say to you, hey, now look, I've told you once. And if they do, they're a weirdo, so it's probably time for exit left anyway. So please, names are so, so important. And then the E stands for eye contact. Ladies and gentlemen, for me, the first principle of networking is to be kind, is to be generous, is always to be thinking, what can I do for you? How can I help you? Who can I introduce you to? And the greatest gift any of us can give to another person at a business event is that gift of time and our full attention to them. And I'm going to again very quickly show you about parking and dumping. If you realize the conversation's come to an end, move on in the polite way. But whilst it hasn't, make sure you give your attention to them. Can I have a show of hands if you agree with this? Men and women are different. Do we all agree that? So women, if one woman... Hello, Patricia. Patricia. So Patricia, if you meet a woman at this conference and you love her shoes or a handbag or a beautiful brooch, what might you give her?
A compliment.
You will. You wouldn't even think about it, would you? I mean, the chances of me saying to Matthew, hey, mate, I really love that tie. I mean, it's just... Even if I did. I mean, we guys just don't say it. Isn't that right? But why not? Because we're different. And what is the difference between men and women when it comes to networking? My opinion, women go networking for the purest of reasons. And that's why. Can I just understand, who didn't hear my talk out there? Can I have a quick show of hands who didn't hear my talk? Okay. Well, just so you know, that when women go networking or women go to any event, they invariably stand facing the person they're talking to. Whereas we men are standing side by side. You watch this for the rest of your lives, really, because nothing ever changes. And do you know why? Because women, when they go networking, go for the purest of reasons of building relationships. Us men, we go hunting. And what happens is we're standing side by side because we find out that if we've got no common interest in sport or no common interest in business, we're already looking round for our next kill. Aren't we, fellas? Admit it. You're going hunting. It's no different from 5,000 years ago. The women were in the caves bringing the children up, networking beautifully, and we men were out there hunting for business. So be kind and share and always help. How many of you in this room earn their money, like me, from advice giving? Are we in the advice giving business? So please remember this. If you're in the advice-giving business, the best marketing you can do at an event is to give away free advice. I have a mantra, the more you tell, the more you sell. Did you agree with me there? Don't be uncommercial, but give away free advice. Oh, you got a problem? You might want to consider doing it this way. If you look around the internet and type in Will Kintish, and I've got two websites, kintish.co.uk and Kintish TV. You can learn everything about all my intellectual property. It's all there to give away. People won't do it. That's why they pay me to come on stage. But the more information you have on the internet, the more people see you as an expert, and therefore more people, hopefully, will buy your services. So be kind and generous. Know, like, and trust. So many people say, I'll do that, I'll get that to you, I'll send it to you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you meet people this weekend or at any stage and you promise to send them the latest report, or you promise to call them, or you promise to broker an introduction to somebody, do it and do it quickly. Build a reputation for reliability. Speed stuns. If I meet somebody at a breakfast meeting and I promise to send something to them, unless I'm going presenting somewhere, by lunchtime I'll make sure they get that information. And that's the way you can build trust very, very quickly. If ever you come to my office, I have 2 signs in my office. One sign says, do what you say you're going to do. And the other sign says, do it when you say you're going to do it. Because at the end of the day, you know, nobody knows what a great technical realtor you are, or estate agent as we call them, but they know whether you're reliable or not. I was obsessive and still am about reliability. That's how I got and kept all my clients, not because of my technical abilities, I told you before. It was because they liked me, I made them laugh, and I was 100% reliable. When they said, Will, when can I have those accounts that I can show to the bank? I used to say, you can have them next Wednesday, and I made sure they got them on the Tuesday, and guess what? The client thought I was a great accountant. If I got them to them on the Thursday, they say you're a rubbish accountant because you've let me down. For me, people don't ask enough questions, particularly younger people. It's all about being interested. Here's another Dale Carnegie quote for you. The most interesting people we ever meet are those who are most interested in us. Isn't that right, everybody? I'll tell you a quick story. I was on a cruise a couple of years ago. I went down to the bar in the middle of the morning, not to have alcohol, to have a Diet Coke, and I met Jim. And Jim and I were the only ones at the bar. And I said, oh, hello there, how are you? And we stood there, just the 2 of us, for an hour. He spoke for 57 minutes. I spoke for 3. And at the end of it, his wife came up and he said, Elaine, come and meet Will. What a fascinating character. But isn't that true? Isn't it true? If you want to be a great conversationalist, let them do all the conversation. So I want you to be curious. It's all about asking open questions. The who, what, why, where, which, when, and how. But be very careful when you start asking people questions about their business. Because you're going to meet 2 sorts of people. And you need to watch their body language very carefully. You're going to meet the high reactor who wants to tell you everything. And you're going to meet the low reactor who doesn't want to tell you anything. So you need to have all your senses honed to make sure that who you're talking to really does want to tell you things. It might be about their family. They might not want to tell you about family. So be very careful when it comes to questions. Try and ask open questions. But sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, like me, will you agree with me, we get into conversations with people and it's obvious they know more about it than us. Is that fair, everybody? And when I'm talking to the young professionals, I say, well, how do you feel then? And they say to me, well, I'm embarrassed that I don't know the answer because they're more experienced than me. Or I go a bit quiet, or I try and change the subject. And I say to them, don't. Ask your best networking friend, Ted, because he knows everything. If you don't know the answer, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, look, can you see, he's just come back from holiday. He's just been to Italy for a couple. He's nice and brown, isn't he? Yeah. He really desperately needed a holiday there, I tell you. Yeah, he told me he really was not feeling well when that picture was taken. I must get another picture taken. So, God, I do talk a load of crap sometimes. So what does TED mean? When you don't know the answer, flatter the other person by saying, tell me what you mean by that. I'm with you now, right through till, not till 2 o'clock in the morning, Matthew, I can tell you. How many of you are going to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning? Pete, I bet you're not, are you?
Not today.
No, not today, not any day at your age, mate. Is that right? When did you start working, Pete?
When did I start working?
What year? Can you remember?
Wow.
It's a simple question. Do you want some time to think about it? Age 12. Okay. It's so rare I meet people older than me in the audience. Not that I'm saying he is older than me. He just looks older than me. Sorry, please.
I feel older than you too. I feel older than you too.
Do you? Why is that, Pete? You're still working, you're still vibrant. We had a great conversation out there. Did you say I'm a street broker?
I did.
You did. Any other street brokers? You're a few street brokers. Is that any relation to a street walker? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, when you don't know the answer, ask Ted. The person you're talking to, give them one of 3 commands. Have you got it? Sorry, I don't get that. Tell me what you mean by that. Explain to me how that works. And that way, A, you're going to learn something, and B, you're saying you know more about it than me. By the way, this 24-page or 28-page pocketbook, all this stuff is in there for you. Now the small talk. Hang on, I just want to check a slide. Okay. This slide here, ladies and gentlemen, represents small talk, because at the end of the day, it's the small talk that builds the big relationships. And what you have there are 7 objects all about the different topics of conversation. So you have the car. The car represents the icebreaker question. Many people, sorry Ted, you're off stage now. Many people say to me, Will, I've introduced myself, we've smiled, we've shaken hands, we've forgotten each other's names, and then we have to ask the icebreaker question. What is the icebreaker question? Don't ever ask, what do you do? Because here's your headline. Your icebreaker question should equal something relevant to the moment and the event. So you're looking for something in common. So, hi, nice to meet you. Where did your journey start? Nice to meet you. Are you a member of SIOR? So halfway through the conference, hi, nice to meet you. What did you think of the last speaker? Hi, have you been to London before? And so on. Everybody got it? Try and avoid what do you do? Because if you're in property, real estate, and somebody else sells sausages, you've got nowhere else to go. The conversation's died. So try and start a conversation with an icebreaker that is common to that event. So that's what the car represents. The house is obviously where do you live? Where did you grow up? Paul from IBM, where are you, Paul? Paul, he used 1 or 2 words that you wouldn't have even noticed, but he used the flat A when he talked about glass, didn't you? He talked about glass. You see, I'm from a place called Manchester. Has anybody ever been to Manchester? Born there. You, sir. Where do you live now? You live in Paris. How dare you leave Manchester? What's wrong with Manchester? How long have you lived in Paris? 25 years. 25 years. Oh, that's half your life, yeah? Ish. Whereabout did you live in Manchester?
Didsbury. I was born in
Didsbury. Posh part of Manchester. Anybody else come from Manchester? Any Manchester United supporters? City? I might need a prop in a minute, and you'll be out here, mate. I'm telling you, Manchester City supporter. Ladies and gentlemen, the house represents where do you live, where are your roots? If I meet people in Manchester, so let's just go back to this accent. Paul said glass, or he's going upstairs for a bath. I have 5 grandchildren. I might have 6. I'm waiting for the phone to ring. I'm expecting my 6th grandchild today or tomorrow, and another one in later in the year. God knows what my kids are doing to produce all these grandkids. Can anybody tell me? So my grandkids, they all live in London. So they don't understand the word glass and bath. What do they know? Bath and... I say, come on, kids, let's go and have a bath. They say, you mean bath, Grandpa? So accents. When Paul sat down, I said, because I assumed he was from the north. In fact, he's from Birmingham. And Birmingham have the worst accent in the world. I'm glad to say, Paul, you didn't show your accent.
I practiced and I had to change it.
You had to change it.
Because if I talk like I really do, you wouldn't understand me.
You do realise, people, Americans, that the UK is no bigger than Florida in size, don't you? You know that, don't you? And every 30 miles we have a different accent. We have a Brummie accent. We have a Scouse, a Liverpool accent. We have a Newcastle accent for the Geordies. We have a Manchester accent. We have a London accent, a Southern accent. So accents. So you've got the how. Then you've got the business cards asking people about their business. Then you have the aeroplane asking people about their travel, asking people about their holidays. Then you've got the tennis rackets. That symbol represents hobbies. So if I want to keep a conversation going, and we finished with business, I might ask this question. So when you're not working, what do you do in your spare time? And often you find you've got something in common. So I say, what do you do in your spare time? I play golf, I go skiing, I breed hamsters. Does anybody breed hamsters? Nobody? No, neither do I. Okay, so you've got tennis rackets, then you've got newspaper. Here in the UK, is it the same in America? We try and avoid politics and religion. Or is it okay in America to talk politics and religion? I've given my delegates license to talk politics until midnight last night, or midnight tonight, because there's something going on today about politics. You all know about that. But after that, we don't talk politics. And then over here, above the tennis racket, we have the family. Ladies and gentlemen, be very careful about family. Family is a fantastic topic. But when you ask the wrong person the wrong question on the wrong day, it causes a lot of upset and embarrassment. Isn't that right? So can I beg you all, never ask of a stranger two questions. Number one, are you married? And number two, have you got children? And to the men in the room, don't ever say, when's the baby due? Because if it's not, I can always find out whether they have children or not. I say, where are you going on holiday? Oh, we're taking the kids to Florida. Where do you live? Oh, how long have you lived there? Now we've got our third child. So I mentioned something about my family. They invariably mention something about theirs. But can I just say to you and repeat, please don't put people on the spot by asking, are you married and have you got children? And of course, today, when people say my partner, don't always assume it's a partner of the opposite sex, because often it isn't. Well, not often, but sometimes. When it comes to going to events, they might spot an opportunity, but they don't follow up. And the reason people don't follow up is because the good old fear of rejection. I'm assuming that you are all professional people and that you all have a service that adds value to your clients. Please nod. You do, don't you? You charge that fee or that transaction fee, and the value the client is going to get generally is a hell of a lot more. So when I'm talking to professional people like you, I say you are following up to help and not to sell. So what do I do about following up? If I meet anybody at an event and they say something like, we might need some help with what you do, I don't sell. I just keep asking questions. And then what I do, I say, shall we swap cards? There was a gentleman here who came up to me after my talk out there and said, Will, tell me about business cards. Well, here's your headline. The most important thing about business cards is getting theirs. Have you got me? Your card is unimportant, but get their card. Because on today's world, their card is gold dust. It's like the golden ticket to the Willy Wonka factory. Because it's got their cell number on it, their email, their website, and all that stuff. So if I meet anybody at an event and I think I'm going to follow this up, I say, shall we swap cards? I get their card and then I ask permission to call them. What is the difference between following up in a professional manner and pestering people? This is how it works for me. I always ask permission. Do you mind if I give you a call? By the way, does anybody remember the call when it comes to communication? It involves talking. Anybody remember that? You talk to 20 and 30-year-olds, they don't communicate. They only want to do it by tapping. Isn't that right? And I have to say to them, if you're going to follow it up, this is how you do it. Get their business card, look at it, comment on it, and then say, a few minutes ago you said you had an issue with X. Do you mind if I give you a call later in the week and let's continue our conversation then? If you've got on well with them, they'll always say yes. Make sure you then say, which is the best number to get you on? Because if they give you a direct dial or give you a cell number, you're in. I even write on the back of the card, unless it's China or the Far East where you mustn't write on cards, I'll say, do you mind if I jot down on the back of the card the day I'm going to call you? And they normally say yes. And that's the start of my follow-up. So how do I ensure? Do all of you have deals going on where on the other side we end up with radio silence? Do you know what I'm talking about? They start off being interested and then it goes quiet. Well, we don't like hearing no, isn't that right? But you know what? No is the second best answer after yes. Is that too early in the morning for that? So how I insist that when I'm following a prospect, I don't do cold calling. I've got about 30 proposals out at the moment for conference speaking or training, and it goes quiet. You see, people won't buy until they're ready, willing, and able. And life is all about priority. So when it goes quiet, I've phoned them a couple of times and sent 2 or 3 emails. I then send this email or make this phone call and leave a voicemail. Dear prospect, this is the 3rd time I'm chasing you. I'm beginning to think I'm pestering you. Please give me guidance. If you don't want to hear from me anymore because the situation's changed, please tell me and I won't bother you anymore. So that's how I make sure that I can't pester people. Number 1, I keep asking permission to keep in touch. And number 2, I offer the escape route. Does that make sense? And that's how it works for me. So don't quit. We have to be courageous when we go networking. That room was that room out there. You'll all remember the 6 groups. Look at them. The individual. Person standing on their own. The open twos, generally called men. Closed twos, generally called women. Open threes. Closed threes. And 4 or more. Everybody got it? Everybody got the 6 groups? So I don't care what country you've come from, my international audience. Every room you go in, social or business, that's how the groups are formed. So can we all agree, this conference, even if there are closed groups, Kintish is giving you a license to break into a closed group. Is that all right? And gently go in there. But generally, you only go to a closed group if there's somebody in there you know. Because it's dead easy then, isn't it? You sidle up to the person you know, whisper in their ear, and say, hi, Matthew. Please, can I join you? And Matthew, being the gentleman he is, will open up and say, hi, come in, Will, and hopefully introduce you to the group. If he doesn't introduce you, it's because he's forgotten their name. Isn't that their names? Isn't that right? If you hate Matthew and you want to get revenge on him, this is your script. Hey, Matthew, will you introduce me to these people? He'll never forgive you for that. If you love Matthew like I do, this is the script I use. Matthew, please can I introduce myself to these nice people? At that point, he'll say, thank you, Lord. So, as I'm beginning to come to the end, Because I work with professional people, because I work with academic and clever people, you people, as a general rule, you like a process. Can you just bring me one? Are you going to hand them out at the end? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, do any of you talk about pipelines in your business? Can I have a quick show of hands? 93.6% of you. Right, well, here's your networking pipeline. Look at it. For those of you who want more business, for those of you who want to raise your profile, for those of you who want to be more proactive, this is for you. Because when you accept more invitations, you're going to meet more people. Which means, believe it or not, I hope, if you're nice, you're going to build more relationships, which gives you license to ask questions. Which means you might spot a need. You can't create need, but you can spot a need by asking good questions and listening carefully. And that's what I call the aha moment. The aha moment is the crux to networking. You go to an event and somebody says something to you like, we're not happy with our present advisors. Aha. We've got some money to spend. We're looking to buy some property. Aha. Our business is growing. Is that an aha moment for you, for a lot of you? Street traders? Street brokers? Isn't that? Sorry. Same thing, isn't it? Sorry, Pete. It's only because we're the same age-ish that I can have fun at his expense. And we did build a relationship out there.
Still building.
We're still building. The aha moment is the key to getting something out of an event. The aha moment means you don't go into selling mode, you ask a few more questions, and then you do the card swapping. The aha moment should indicate in your mind this relationship should be continuing outside this event. Everybody got it? And that's where you ask permission to make the phone call, meet the prospect, and that will happen. Does that work for you, everyone? But you know what? It's all based on that. Accepting the invitation in the first place. Because if you don't go, you'll never know. That's what Dale Carnegie said. If I only have one slide to produce and 10 seconds to talk, that's what it's all about. Anybody on LinkedIn? Good. If you invite me to link in, which I'd love you to do, please send a personal invitation. Do you all know? Do we all get invitation from complete strangers and get that one-liner? And you think, who the hell are you? I don't know. Well, will you make sure you send me or anybody else a personal invitation? Hi, Will. Although I thought your presentation was rubbish, can we still link in? That's fine. I'll accept. I can't please all the people all the time. By the way, I'm always happy to talk live, but I do have an online learning program, which is there. It's a four-parter, about 40 minutes each, very interactive. So, as we come to the end, can I just say to you, it's my birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I want you to know this. It's not a particularly special birthday. You see, if you've been in prison for 30 years as an accountant, it will be your birthday every day. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Thank you. Will has kindly given each and every one of us a little brochure that you'll get on leaving the room. They'll be at the registration desk as well later on, so there's enough for everyone. Don't panic. Thank you. Thank you, Will. We've got just to make the room up, it's going to take 5 minutes to get set up here for the next panel discussion, the developers panel. If you want to have a quick loo break or get a cup of tea, bring it back in here, but we are going to start again in 5 minutes. Okay? Thank you.